Okay, so speaking of Julio Jones, that leads into my to our number two. Our number two is Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. Last extension was their last extension.
Mm-hmm. They will not get a further extension.
I don't think they'll be further extended. Only way that they'll be further extended is if Ryan somehow decides to, or he finally decides to take a cap-friendly deal. So you've already touched on it, but Arthur Blank. Well, you touched on Matt Ryan saying these locker rooms are rented, which I think was probably in response to Arthur Blank's recent comments, which was he basically did not commit to Matt Ryan anymore, right? He said that the decision of Matt Ryan being a Falcon, staying a Falcon, is not up to me. He's basically saying the general manager and the new head coach, they're going to have the final say on which is a complete turnaround over what he was saying before, always telling Grady Jarrett that he was a Falcon for life, which I think kind of that provided a lot of leeway to Grady Jarrett's agent to say, well, your boss already told me that, you know what I mean? Like it kind of gave them a lot of more leverage than they should have had. Julio Jones being also saying he was a Falcons for life, and then also, Matt Ryan saying that he was a Falcons for life. Well, did he ever say Matt Ryan was going to be a Falcon for
life? It sounds like something he would have said, but I don't recall exactly when, if he did.
I recall it for Julio Jones and Grady Jarrett, but I don't recall it for Matt Ryan. So that's kind of feeds into our number two, right? Arthur Blank basically say he didn't commit. Now, I personally think that Arthur Blank is saying that, but any general manager who comes in is not going to take a 75 dead cap by trading Matt Ryan. Because if you trade Facebook is what we're talking about. They're all talking about trade Matt Ryan, trade Matt Ryan away, tank, and get Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
Even if we trade away Matt Ryan, we're still paying him a good chunk of money. Unless somehow another team decides to, and I don't even know if that works that way. Can another team give us money to can they agree?
Yeah, so you can do a trade with cash considerations. Yeah.
No team is gonna do it. Unless you're a very quarterback needy team that has a lot of money.
Matt Ryan's like what, 34, 35?
30. I think he's only a few years older than us. Yeah, 35 or so.
Yeah, so yeah, you're not gonna do cash considerations for someone that late in the career. I mean, he's not a Tom Brady by any stretch, but Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. I feel like that needs to be stressed. People neglect the good stuff he does because the bad stuff that the team does ends up being like magnified, all the time. Giving up a 15-point lead twice in 2 weeks, like that gets magnified, and you forget all the other stuff that came before. So
me and my best friend said one thing about Matt Ryan. So we compared him to Eli Manning, where Eli Manning is and not in regards to greatness. Eli Manning is not great.
Yeah, exactly. I actually think Matt Ryan is a better quarterback than Eli, despite the fact Eli has two. But the thing is,
Eli Manning is clutch.
Okay.
And that's why he has those 2 Super Bowl rings, because he became clutch. Joe Flacco that one year was clutch. You can't argue that Joe Flacco, because you can't tell me that Joe Flacco is better than Matt Ryan when he's on his 3rd team right now.
I don't know, man. Like I remember that Super Bowl pretty well, the Ravens and the Niners. I thought that was mostly Ravens defense. I feel like that was one of the first teams that year that had a handle on Kaepernick.
That Denver game. That Denver game, because he did that Hail Mary.
Okay.
That was what it was. I could see where you say the defense probably carried the team.
Because prior to that game, not many teams had a handle on Kaepernick. But the Ravens figured out the formula, and it seems to have carried over into the next season. But,
gotcha. Yeah. No, that's true. That's very much true. So that's the thing is, guys like Eli Manning and Joe Flacco, they're not elite, but they're clutch when they need to be clutch, right? Mm-hmm. Like, even though, the defense probably had a lot to do with the Ravens, Joe Flacco had a lot to do with them getting it, right? And then he also gets the MVP because he was playing really damn good in the Super Bowl. The problem with Matt Ryan is he's elite. I think he's elite. I just don't think he's clutch when you need him to be clutch. Right. He overthinks. You know who had that same
problem
flaw? Peyton Manning had the same flaw. Peyton Manning When he needed to be clutch, there was times where he was clutch when he needed to be clutch, but there was also times where he overthought things, and that's what made him lose games.
So would you say then that Peyton is a better quarterback than Eli, but Eli was more clutch than Peyton?
In particular situations. You know what? No, not really, because you know why? Eli Manning still got to 4 Super Bowls. Peyton got
to 4.
Huh?
Eli got to 2. Peyton got to 4.
Peyton got to 4. It's just that Eli won the 2 that he went to.
Yeah. It's 2 for 2 versus 2 for 4.
Yeah, but I would never say that Eli Manning was a better quarterback or more
because
or more
he's
clutch.
Not. He's not.
It's just that he had 2 great seasons where he was clutch at the right exact time. He got hot at the exact time that he needed to get hot. Peyton Manning stayed hot throughout his whole career.
I had and sorry to get derailed off of the top 5, but it must have been a few years ago. I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and I asked him, "What are your top 10 quarterbacks?" And this man uttered Eli Manning during his list. I was like, hold on, wait. I was like, what's Eli Manning? And he was like, well, I've only been watching football for, I think this is like maybe 2015 or something. So I've only been watching football for like 10 years. I was like, okay, I can name you 10 quarterbacks better than Eli Manning since 2005. And I did. But he was like, hey, just a personal opinion. I'm like, yeah, but some opinions are just, just
a little bit cause you to do that Scooby-Doo.
Exactly.
So anyways, with Matt Ryan, what do you think is going to happen with Matt? I honestly see him doing another 2 or 3 years here, and he's going to go play at another team. He will be playing at another team.
Unfortunately,
I don't know where, but he will be playing at another team.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see Matt Ryan winning a Super Bowl with the Falcons. I have to your question about whether he'll get an extension. No, he won't. I think you're dead on about that. I have a suspicious, sneaky feeling that he's going to go to another team and win the Super Bowl there.
I do too. And you know what's going to happen? We talked about this in pre-production. I don't think it'll happen just because they got a commitment to Garoppolo. But if Matt Ryan somehow makes it in 3 years, because if they decide we're not going to extend Garoppolo again or we'll cut him after 2 or 3 years because they know Matt Ryan's become available, Matt Ryan will win a Super Bowl with Shanahan if he gets Shanahan again.
Yeah.
He really will, because one, he's going to come in. He's already going to know the offense. He's already going to know exactly how to. And then, do you think Shanahan would be stupid 3 times?
Well, the first time I can kind of put down Shanahan. I definitely cannot put the first time on Matt Ryan. I've seen that game multiple times.
No, I'm not saying Matt Ryan's going to be stupid 3 times. I'm saying Shanahan.
Oh, yeah, Shanahan. Yeah, I know. But I was just going through Shanahan's previous 2. So a lot of people put that first game on Matt Ryan. I don't know how. I've rewatched that game, and I don't see how you put that on Matt Ryan. Yes, he had the one where he got sacked and out of field goal range.
Yeah.
What about all the other plays that led up to that? But anyway, so I don't put that on him. But yes, Shanahan not running the ball. You can put that on Shanahan. The second one against the Chiefs, I don't really put that on Shanahan. Honestly, I think that is more a testament.
The Chiefs just being the Chiefs?
Exactly. It's more a testament to Mahomes being Mahomes, to him having Tyreek Hill and just that, that platoon around him that's as great as they are. I don't put the second one on Shanahan that much. But if the question is if Shanahan gets a third shot, will he blow it again? It depends on who they play. But I don't think he will. I think he's a savvy enough coach to
finally run the ball.
Those things. Finally run the ball. Yes. Yes, exactly.
So I could see what you're saying about the Chiefs being the Chiefs. But considering the fact that I heavily dislike Shanahan because I feel like he did lose my team a Super Bowl ring, I still say, hey, he blew it again. So,
I could definitely put the first one on Shanahan.
Yeah, I get you. I can see definitely where your argument is. So what about Julio? I actually feel that after this, I kind of what you said to me, I think last week or the week after that was him being on his last leg. I can actually see that he might retire.
So someone, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, in this group that is getting a lot of plug from us in this episode, mentioned that we should trade Julio Jones. This is maybe 2 weeks ago. No, this is that game where he didn't make the catch. So it was week 4. Who were we playing then?
That's week 3 because we should have beat the
Bears.
The Bears.
The Bears, week 3. He said we should trade Julio Jones, and I think he might have been kidding. But when he said that, and I looked at it, I was like, actually, he's not wrong. Because one thing, that's why I said he might be on his last legs when we spoke a week or 2 ago. He has this nagging injury, right? And even when he's able to play, even if that injury makes him play at 80%, he's still better than most wide receivers, but he's not explosive. Mm-hmm. And I feel like because he's better than most wide receivers, you can get something good for Julio in a trade, but you're never going to get peak Julio again. No. And maybe now is the best time to cut loose.
One of my friends was a huge Patriots fan. He's one of those rare fans that I say he's a bandwagon fan that became a real fan to the Patriots. Mm-hmm. But he is salivating, hoping that the Julio Jones will come to the Patriots. He was like, oh, Belichick would trade. I was like, first of all, Belichick, I don't think would trade away because the thing is, Belichick builds his teams on the draft, so I don't think he'd trade away the farm. But if he could, I don't see the Falcons not asking for a first rounder. Be like, right. I don't care what, you know what I'm saying? Like, that'd be like, one, we're not Bill O'Brien where we're going to trade away DeAndre Hopkins for a second rounder and a piece of sandwich. It's you're going to ask for Julio Jones trade of a first round at least, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening, but I still could see if they decided to trade Julio Jones that, yeah, they would get some, but I don't know. I don't think they would want to trade him. I honestly don't think Falcons will trade him.
I think Belichick might give a first round, but it wouldn't be this next. So it would be like the 2022 or 2023 first round or something like that. Julio Jones still has the ability to win games for a person like Belichick who would know how to use him.
Yeah.
I just think our style of play is a little too predictable, a little too, hey, run down the field, make a cut here and there, where you have to realize that you have to adjust for certain deficiencies that players are starting to show. And I just don't think we have that to be able to make Julio still, be at a great level.
Yeah, no, I could definitely agree with you on that. But I think if anything, Julio Jones, I think he's going to retire.
As a Falcon?
As a Falcon. Even though this is his last extension, I might be wrong on that, and they might give him another extension just so he can retire, right? Because that's kind of one of those players that you don't ever want to see in another uniform. And what I mean by that is I think Arthur Blank would probably consider it a failure if Julio Jones left to another team, right? Just because he's that elite of a player, which leads to the number 3, kind of. And what I mean by that is, so the number 3 is the GM and the head coach, the new GM and the new head coach will be a tandem that will be getting 6 years. Reason I think they'll be getting 6 years is because you can't get rid of Matt Ryan or Julio Jones even if you wanted to. Because there's, like I said about Matt Ryan, there's no GM that's going to come here and take like $75 million dead cap space by trading Matt Ryan next season. So I honestly feel that the same thing with Matt Ryan and with Julio Jones as Matt Ryan is the reason they're going to get 6 years is because they're going to get 3 years with them and then 3 years to build after them. And maybe it's only 2 years with them and 4 years to build after them. It's kind of how they did it with San Francisco. San Francisco, like we just spoke about them, Shanahan and John Lynch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. They signed a 6-year deal because the San Francisco 49ers knew this is going to be a slow build. We're going to have to be patient about it, right? And they did. They came in, Shanahan had what? I think he started off 9 or 6-7-0 0-9, and then he ended up winning. Did he get Garoppolo his first year that he was the head coach? He did, right?
No. Wait, was last year his 3rd season with the Niners?
I think it is.
Oh, right, because he went right after the Super Bowl, right? So 2017 would be the first, then 18, then 19. Yeah, so last year was his third. He got Garoppolo in 2018.
Did he?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
No. They actually, no, it was in 2017.
So it was 2016 the year that Brady he got suspended for the first 4 games?
Yeah, and that was the year that he beat us. Remember the whole revenge tour?
Yeah. So he got suspended for the first 4 games, and
Garoppolo played 3 out of the 4 games. I think.
That's where he made his
Yeah. So they knew it was going to be a slow build, right? Because they needed certain pieces. Because they started off 0-9.
Okay.
And then Garoppolo came, and then they won. I think 6 out of the last 7 games, right?
When Garoppolo got there, he wasn't the starter, was he?
They had him starting at they didn't start him. I think the first game that he was there, which was against the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken, they started him the next game. They put him in, and then he kind of led him to start winning. Because
I remember when he got there, I think he extended his winning streak because he was like 3-0 with the Patriots, wasn't he, as a starter? And I think he extended his winning streak at least by another 2 games before he finally lost.
So he might have not started the first game right away. He might have came back after a while. He might have like the third game or something like that. But they got on a winning streak, right? Because they knew that was. But then what happens is the next season is Garoppolo gets hurt, and they don't get the season that they thought.
Yeah, so they went 4-12.
San Francisco 49ers knew that they were going to have a slow build, right? So that's what I feel like is going to happen with this new GM head coach tandem. Mm-hmm. They're going to know that it's slow, but the difference being is they already have the main piece that they need to win, which is a quarterback, right? Okay. Doesn't matter what you say. You put the right offensive coordinator with Matt Ryan, which is going to be the biggest thing that the new head coach and the new GM bring in. It's going to be who are those coordinators that you decide to bring in, right? Because I'm of the opinion that the head coach is probably going to be an offensive coordinator, like an offensive-minded head coach.
Okay.
Because Matt Ryan has never worked with an offensive-minded head coach. All of his head coaches have been defensive players. So if they bring him in, because no matter what, even though Matt Ryan is probably going to be leaving, you still have him as an enticing piece to bring in a new head coach.
Honestly, I think the team has an obligation to give him the best chance to win this, at least one last time. And, it's like, hey, look, we gave you an offensive-minded head coach, and he put some pieces around you. If you still can't do it, bro, we don't know what to do to help you.
Yeah, and then honestly, if the GM and the head coach, if they do, you never know, they might actually make it where it'd be like, there's no point in us moving on from Matt Ryan and replacing him right away. Instead, getting somebody come in 3rd round, 4th round to groom behind him, right? So, even though this wasn't part of the list, which I guess it will be, because, well, real quickly, do you have anything to add to the GM head coach thing that I was saying?
No, it sounds about right. Give them that leeway to see out the end of Matt's career and be able to start with someone new if need be.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That brings me, like I was saying, with our number 4 is that we expect all defense and all offensive line as the next, at least this year's draft, right? Mm-hmm. Even though they kind of started doing it this year, right? But do you feel like it's a miss, or do you think we just don't have enough? We don't really have enough of a.
Well, I don't even remember the guy's name.
2 games out of the 5 games that they played because of the COVID, getting COVID, and then I think Marlon Davidson? He missed like his first 2 games, came in, and then he got hurt in the last game, so he's going to be out for a few weeks.
Who did he? Was it McGarry? Is that the name of the guy that they?
Kellen McGarry. Oh, Kellen McGarry. Yeah, actually, him and he's actually been playing okay, hasn't he?
I haven't really been paying attention to him, to be honest. I haven't.
If you haven't been paying attention to an offensive lineman, that means that offensive lineman is doing his job.
Okay, well, that's good. He's not doing,
because that's the reason why
penalties.
We don't really talk too much. Yeah, he occasionally messes up, but Matthews, Jake Matthews,
yeah.
You don't really talk much about him because he's a consistently good. I know there's a lot of people who talk crap. Yeah, he kind of got that. He did get that flag at the right time, but again, why does he have to hold for a passing play when he could have just been blocking for a running play, right? Mm-hmm. So It's just, yeah, I know that a lot of people give him that flack, but overall, he's a good offensive lineman. So if you don't talk about your offensive lineman, if the offensive lineman isn't being spoken on, then you're good. Then you're golden, right? So you don't really hear. I don't think you hear too much about Kaleb McGary. So I think he's okay. And then they have another guy that we drafted.
I wanted to say real quick. I actually think the O-line has been better than last year. I remember last year Matt Ryan couldn't get a pass off to save his life. Yeah,
that's damning by faint praise, my friend.
Yeah, right. He can get a pass off to save his life. At least now he's able to get passes off, and he's making some completions. There've been a lot of like bad drops. This last game against the Panthers. I remember pre-production I was telling you that I couldn't even remember the game because so much has happened since then. But I remember in that first drive, Ridley had a drop, Gage had a drop. Like it forces us to get into a third down situation. Yeah, and but the O-line is actually giving Matt Ryan to throw the ball. So I guess the whole policy of trying to draft linemen is starting to work, and you might be right as that the future drafts will be focusing more on that, on protecting the line.
I think it's just going to be one of those, and then we don't have a pass rush, so it's just going to be line all the way through because we don't have a pass rush.
We need a pass rush because our secondary is atrocious.
How do you feel about Tack?
McKinley? He's okay. I mean, I think he gets there sometimes. He's nowhere near top tier.
I mean, I know that they actually did point out that last year he had one of the top pressures, which a lot of people don't. That's not a stat, so you don't really get to hear about it, but it's very important, right?
So what does that mean when you say tough pressures?
When you pressure a quarterback, means that you most of the times what you're doing is you're pushing him out of his
out of the pocket.
Out of the pocket, you're pushing him away. You're causing him pressure, so that means you're causing him to release quickly because he's getting so damn close. So he did have top pressure, but I just think it just with him it never got to click. He just got hurt right off the bat, and then that's what happens, man. Sometimes injury bug just attacks one player and just messes with their entire career, and that's kind of what I feel is happening with him. And then hopefully that's not what's happening to our our third rounder, our second rounder, Davidson, if I'm not mistaken, is his name. We really haven't been able to see him, and then he's the one that was talking about I like football because it's like I'm trying to murder somebody and I can get away with it.
Okay, yeah, I remember him.
So, anyways, so that's kind of like our number 4. Just kind of we're pretty sure that they're not going to draft a quarterback this year. I don't think.
Yeah, no. Well, I think if they do, it'll be a third or fourth rounder.
For development purposes.
Yeah, I honestly don't like the fact that Matt Schaub is still our backup. Matt Schaub is a quarterback that took the Texans to the playoffs. I think multiple years, maybe.
I think he was one of the ones that helped. Yeah, go a few times. 3 times, I think.
So he's a good sure hand to have back there, especially when your quarterback doesn't get injured very often. Matt Ryan hasn't really had many injuries in his career, so he's a good sure hand.
I think the first time since 2009 was the first time that that he had to miss a game, which was that Rams game.
You're saying he hasn't missed one since 2009?
2009, I think it had been almost a decade.
Yeah. Did he play in that one game that didn't matter at the end of the 2016 season when I think we were 12 or 14-2?
No, he did because that was against I remember that was against the Saints.
Okay. So yeah. Anyway, our quarterback doesn't really get injured that much, so I guess they just hey, but if he does, let's have Matt Schaub in there that, he's a steady hand or whatever. But I like the idea of at least having someone young to groom up. Now, you're not going to groom up a first rounder. You're going to maybe groom him up for 3 games, and once the main guy lifts up, he's in there. I don't think we need that kind of high-level quarterback right now in the draft.
And I think they have one right now that they're kind of grooming like that. The Kurt Brunkert.
Van Kurt or something like that.
Yes, him. He's actually, and I can actually get you his name. So he's actually Kurt Bunkert. Yeah, they've actually protected him, I think, 2 years in a row to make sure that he can't get picked up. And if you follow him on social media, he's actually pretty funny. He's a pretty cool dude.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyways, I think they have been grooming him, but they probably don't see him as being the the answer to the future or whatever, right? But anyways,